Express. I'm Calvin.
And I'm Yashar.
And here today we have two amazing guests with us. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. And actually, I'm going to let them introduce themselves because they are significantly better at doing that than I am. So,
Hi, I'm Nightingale. I'm the creative lead on the QQ, also known as the Quarantine Capsule. Happy to be here, guys.
And I'm Chris. I'm a co-creative director at T-Base, and I'm working with Nightingale on Quarantine Qapsule.
Awesome. So what is Quarantine Qapsule?
Whoa, that's the hard question, right? What is a Quarantine Capsule? Okay, it is in a way the concept of a time capsule where we can look back on things, and I wanted to create like a more positive space for the Asian Canadian community to look back at this time of the pandemic and see something positive, and also see our history being recorded in a way that where we're taking agency to reclaim our own narratives.
and I guess what obviously certain ideas have to have like a catalyst that bridge them into life. But what brought about this idea?
Okay, what brought about this idea? The pandemic, first off.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a major thing nowadays. It's just a lot of people are just starting projects and just starting new work because of the pandemic. It's just, I don't know. It's just, for me, I feel like the pandemic just made a lot of people start working on things instead of like prior to pandemic where no one decided to do anything. A lot of people procrastinate. But once we're stuck in our homes, a lot of people just decide to work on all these different things and create amazing projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what happened was that in February, I took part in a short film called Wuhan, Toronto, and it picked up a lot of media attention. And it was about the isolation between Toronto and Wuhan, how they're both so different. And at the same time, they're both very lonely, isolating experiences. So that kind of sparked one of the pieces to the Quarantine Capsule. And then later on, it was just seeing a lot of my friends and family. And I just didn't want my memories of like this, we all know this is going to be a historical moment in our lives. I just wanted to look back, and also I want my friends to look back and see something positive instead of something full of despair, dreary, and sadness again. And so I thought, okay, so what about art? Art is something that can't be stifled. You can find creativity everywhere. And I've been seeing people make some really good sourdough making skills. Like I saw some nice art on there. So I was like, why can't we just put all this into one place, right? Get something made in isolation and put it somewhere where we can all come together into this beautiful mosaic in a way. And also talk about our own history, like Chinatown, for example, because that's an important space that is now a ghost town because of the reactions from this pandemic.
It's really cool that you have come up with this idea because it's very similar to like back in World War I, where people will have these like books of poetry that they were just written in the trenches. And so it's kind of a cool parallel because you have something so horrible going on around, and then suddenly you just have this like piece of just amazing art that I guess captures what humanity was specifically just in that one period. So it's a very cool idea. And I guess my next follow-up portion to that is I guess do you guys have sort of a criteria what goes into the capsule, or how do you choose?
How does it work?
All right, so when I approached T-Base and Myseum, we wanted to focus on inclusivity. So basically, it was just a low stakes game. Like as long as you follow the guidelines, you'll most likely be exhibited at the end, because we just wanted, it wasn't about who made the most beautiful thing. It was more like who had a story to tell, and that was it, right? Like if someone were to draw a stick figure, if someone wanted a montage of their dog, someone wanted to film their grandma cooking, like that's still an authentic experience. And recording all these lived experiences also shapes like the culture and showing people the reality of like, this is what we did during this time.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think it wasn't really like a juried art exhibition. It was more so like an archive of experiences within our communities.
And Chris, how did you ended up coming into this project then?
Well, I came into this project because Nightingale was communicating with Michael Vu, who's also one of the co-founders of T-Base. And so T-Base kind of got involved, and then I took on the project. And I was just very interested in the idea of archiving these voices and archiving our own voices, and like what Nightingale mentioned before about that agency to tell our own story about this time.
So I do hear a lot of the word, archiving. So because of the pandemic, I know this is going to be like a virtual event. So how do you plan on like keeping this afloat for like the future to come? Like how are people able to access this quarantine capsule once, your event has passed?
Well, Myseum is going to be, they have their digital archive. So their whole thing is like a museum without walls. So it's like kind of similar to the way a museum would have archives, and it would ideally live indefinitely on this site.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
Oh no, you guys are kind of laggy. Did I start freezing?
No, you're
Uh,
you're totally
Oh,
fine.
okay, good. Okay, because it just got slow for a second. I thought I lagged.
No
Well,
worries.
the webinar that we're having on the
Mhm.
18th is one of our discussions as a way of the extension to the quarantine capsule, because we need to talk about why having these conversations are important. So having it recorded and having it live online is also important. Also, like us talking on your podcast is also
Right.
an extension of the quarantine capsule, because we need to start having more of these conversations so people are aware that like recording voices of different ethnicities, different groups is so important, especially since we live in Canada where we have everybody who lives here.
So, have you found that starting quarantine capitals, have you had any sort of hurdles that you've had to overcome in this situation, short of the
It's been
pandemic?
it's honestly been a lot of heartfelt support from everybody in the community. Everyone just keeps sharing, everyone talks about it, everybody wants to have a conversation, everyone is curious about Chinatown, they're showing concern. It's been really good, and people are interpreting it in different ways too. Some people are seeing it as a way to promote Asian art, and I feel like that's the goal of the QQ, is that people just have to talk.
And Chris, have you seen any sort of trends in the way that people are interacting with this project? Like, are there certain things that they're I guess they're moving towards, and other things that they're not really addressing as directly?
Um, Sorry, who are we talking about? Like,
I just participants.
I mean, I honestly haven't seen all of the submissions. There's a lot. But I think there's just like a huge variety. Like I haven't noticed that many trends. But I think, from the beginning, there was before this project, there was a lot of interest in Chinatown and inheriting Chinatown and continuing it, and just Asian communities in general. So I think like it's been really nice to see there like a variety of submissions from not just downtown, but going out more so into Markham and Scarborough and wherever, um, where people can kind of you know be a part of that sort of like Asian Canadian community without necessarily living in Chinatown.
So, is there any way that someone can raise awareness towards, Chinatown, the community, and after the quarantine capsule? Because I know quarantine capsule is a way to raise awareness, but how are other people able to raise awareness, outside of quarantine capsule?
Well, I'm really interested in the work that Friends of Chinatown is doing right now, Friends of Chinatown Toronto, and they've been very active in advocating for like the actual Chinatown community. And I think like that is like through them is like the best way to really like get involved with that.
Yeah, I actually was doing a little bit of research prior, and I remember seeing an article where Friends of Chinatown, um, they posted like one of those like notice boards that the city of Toronto would put, and they actually translated it. Right, I saw that article, and it's
Mhm.
like it was all because of Friends of Chinatown that they started doing that.
Yeah, that was and then afterwards the city translated into Chinese, and it was like, oh, the first time Toronto's done a notice board in a language other than English. But yeah, like Friends of China has been very active around that development, and um, yeah, like there's like they packed the city, what is it called, community consultation. They've been canvassing. They've been doing like a lot of great work. And so I think like if you like follow their Instagram or something, that's a really accessible way to like find out what's going on in Chinatown and like how you can get involved with that sort of grassroots organizing.
So I guess for people who are interested in contributing to this, do you have like a piece that really resounds with you that you've seen that's a submission that people can sort of be like, oh, okay, that's I guess sort of what they're looking for or something like that you could share with us?
Nightingale, do you want to give
Oh,
an
is this
example?
for regarding
Yeah.
the QQ?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. There's just so much. Like, I feel like I relate to each and every one of these videos and experiences, or like I could see a friend. So I don't know. Like, I feel like that's the beauty of the QQ is that you can just take a piece of everything and then it becomes your experience as well.
Yeah, like I really like the variety. Like I like that it's not just like artwork.
Okay.
There's one where it's like a recording. It's like the toddlers making breakfast for the mom. It's really cute. And then there'll be ones where it's like, like a camcorder recording of different snapshots of Chinatown. And there will be one that's like, a visual, like a painting that's kind of like a video of the process of making the artwork. So there's like a pretty big variety in the submissions, and I think that's what I like the most about it.
That is pretty neat, considering like the term artwork, but they're providing something outside of just visual arts. And it's like there's so many different forms of like creative work that people can put out there, like anywhere from video, photo,
Music.
music, or just spoken talk.
So I guess our main thing now that we know that this is in existence and that you guys are doing this is what's the process for someone like one of our listeners that's like, oh, you know what, like, I want to be part of QQ. How do we do this?
Oh, there's so many ways. Like we just finished our mentorship program, which was a really interesting part of the QQ because when you say like art exhibit or something like that, like you're only targeting like a certain amount of people who have like the skills and the abilities to like, present something. And then what about some people who are like, oh, I want to still contribute to the QQ and what can I do? And so with T-Base, we wanted to find a way to basically broaden the Asian Canadian community, not just limit it to like the people in the arts. So the mentorship program is for people who don't have like the art tools or they need more encouragement or emerging artists and we have people who are like mentors such as myself and we try to help someone like create a piece over Zoom so that they can contribute to the QQ.
Awesome. I mean, yeah, it sounds like you could take that interaction you had, and that would be also like a good aspect to the QQ as well.
Yeah.
Oh, but
Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, go for it, buddy.
So, let's say, so in terms of like QQ, what do we have to look out for in terms of dates?
Right now, what's confirmed is November 18th is our webinar. And then hopefully shortly after that, the launch of the entire exhibition will be online and ready and live in real live stereo.
In full color.
Yeah, full color too.
So I guess this QQ will be ongoing until I guess this pandemic is over.
Pretty much. I feel like anyone can like create their own type of QQ, like even if it's not part of the actual branded term like QQ, like as long as you're still like putting a video out there showcasing your experience and a day in the life or something, that's still extending the conversation as to why our voices matter.
Okay, well, I think yeah, sure. I've got a couple ideas for me and you for us to maybe contribute a little bit to make this, make the conversation a little bit more colorful, make it a little bit more interesting.
Oh no, I'm totally with you. Like I have a feeling that that I know as to what we should do.
And you know that I know that you know that I know.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
So so if someone wants to learn more information about Quarantine Qapsule and T-Base, where do people go to?
You can find it on the Myseum website.
Yeah, so for QQ, Myseum website, and I think for T-Base, the best place is Instagram, but we're also on Facebook and have an email newsletter and have a website. So yeah, we're most active on Instagram, I would say.
Sounds good.
All right, so we will link Myseum at the end of this podcast, and hopefully we'll get Chris to drop the Instagram handles for T-Base, and as with usual, all of our Instagram handles will be repeat it again at the end of this podcast. But I guess I just wanted to thank you guys so much for taking the time out to come and tell us about something so amazing like QQ.
Yeah, I really appreciate, Nightingale starting this project. And it's just like, as a creative myself, it's such a very interesting way for people to express, I guess, their story. Because the whole purpose of Chat Time was for people to express their story, how they grew up, how they've battled through different struggles in their lives, and how people can also relate to it. So I love how there's that like similarity to it. So that's why I'm like, when I first saw it on Asian Creative Network, I had to like reach out and talk more about it. But yeah, again, thank you both for coming on to this Express episode.
Thank you. Happy to be here and to spill some tea with you guys.
Well, it's gonna happen. Don't worry. It's gonna happen.
Got my tea right here.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I got Tim Hortons, but still.
Yeah, I've got my coffee over here too.
Shall we virtual cheers?
I think we should.
Oh yeah.
We kind of here, right? Cheers.
Cheers. And as always, you can find Chat Time on Facebook, Instagram, and every podcast platform on the internet at Chat Time Podcast. But yeah, other than that, thank you very much for joining us. And Calvin?
I mean, I'm just happy. Like, I didn't even have to tell you to give him the spiel. Like, you just did it.
It's a learning process, Calvin.
Thank you, and good night.